Welcome to Simpit. I'm Sean Cole, and today we're getting our hands on the Conspit 290 GP steering wheel. And it was just very recently that we did a whole live unboxing video where we did this wheel along with the Aries Platinum base and the CPP Evo pedals. And if you want to check that out, there is a link in the description of that live video where we had a lot of fun. And we will get to that Aries base and the CPP pedal reviews very soon. But today we are focusing all of our energy on the Conspit 290 GP and what makes it stand out, what its special features are, and most importantly is, can it justify that $710 price tag? So the Conspit 290 GP is, as you guessed it, a 290mm wide formula style rim featuring Conspit's N+1 design concept, which aims to redefine the shape of formula style wheels with a unique 3D ergonomic layout. And with that, the big question will be, is this the most ergonomic sim racing wheel ever developed? We'll answer that question throughout this. So the 290 GP has a fully carbon fiber molded front cover, while the back is all aluminum with TPU precision molded grips for durability and comfort. It includes a customizable 4.3-inch 800 by 480 LCD screen surrounded by a 12-segment programmable rev strip and 3 indicator lights per side. The wheel is packed with inputs for customization, starting with 12 customizable RGB backlit buttons. You've got dual mag flip rocker style paddle shifters, a third set of lever style paddles for extra control. You got 2 horizontal rotary thumb dials and 2 vertical rotary dials as well. There are 3 12-position encoder switches, along with 2 7-way joysticks, which gives us a ridiculous amount of inputs, if you know what I mean. Along with it, it does come with a 50 by 70mm adapter that goes on the back, along with a really long wire. So this is going to work on any base as long as it works with a 50 by 70mm in its stock configuration. Also in the box are 4 different sticker sheets, 2 in purple, 2 in black, to label your backlit buttons. We mentioned Conspit's N+1 design concept, and that's talking about the ergonomics. So when you look at the buttons on this wheel, it's a little different than normal wheels. The wheel buttons are actually angled towards you, or at least a majority of them. It gives the wheel a unique look, but more importantly, makes it quicker and more natural to use while driving. For my testing, I was going to be using the Conspit Aries Platinum base, which makes total sense, but it means that I was going to have to use their quick release. So I had to dump that universal adapter and the long wire and add the $90 quick release. So it's now an $800 wheel, but look at this quick release. A very, very cool design. I love this ball bearing type design. It's beautiful, it's super firm locking, and it makes it a wireless connection, which adds a lot more than just a quick release, a lot more functionality. To install it was really easy. We just had to remove that original universal adapter from the wheel, plug in the quick release cable to the back of the wheel rim, and then just bolt the quick release securely onto the wheel. All the necessary hardware and tools were included, and the whole process only took a few minutes. Now, whether you're using the steering wheel with the base or on its own, you're going to need to download the Conspit software from the website. So you'll download that, install it on your system, and you're going to want to do any necessary firmware updates just to make sure everything's the most current. But once inside your software, you can make a lot of adjustments to the steering wheel itself. Starting with things that you're going to want to do for sure, like calibrate and fine-tune the paddle shifters. You can change and rearrange the on-screen dash layouts. And you can customize the backlit button colors to your choice or to something that makes them memorable. And now that the Conspit 290 GP is all set up, dialed in, ready to go, let's get it on our rig and see how it performs out on track. Now that we're actually out on track and driving with the Conspit 290 GP steering wheel, the first thing that you are going to notice is coming at 290mm, it is a very quick turning wheel. It is going to be very well suited for high downforce, really sticky like open wheel cars, but it might be a little bit twitchy for some of those slower cars where you want just a little bit more leverage or a little bit more reduction in speed with a wider rim. The other thing you're going to notice is that the ergonomic TPU grips lock your hand in place. Unlike traditional grips that allow for sliding, this grip position is clearly the core philosophy of the 290 GP, with the rest of the design centered around that, your hands not moving from the grips. The TPU grips themselves feel like hard rubber compound, built to last without discoloration like cheaper materials tend to do. While they are on the firmer side, their contoured shape works well for my hands, making them comfortable for both barehanded and glove driving sessions. Now let's talk about one of the more unique features of this wheel, that being these dual rocker paddles. These are one piece of aluminum that go all the way across and kind of work like a teeter-totter. So when I'm pressing in here, you can see it's pushing out here. But that also means that I can push to do the opposite. So if I need to downshift and I can't reach that paddle, I can actually push forward with the opposite paddle, which is really cool. They do take some getting used to, and some drivers are going to love that added functionality, while others might just prefer traditional paddles. For my setup, I map the middle paddles as my primary up and down shifters. Their short travel and magnetic snap feel crisp, though the longer aluminum bar gives them a slightly different tactile response compared to standard magnetic paddle shifters. But I gotta tell you, that unexpected advantage, being able to push forward for downshifts in tight, slow corners, it actually came in quite handy. The upper paddles are staggered closer to the rim and have the same snappy, tactile feel as the middle ones. Then we have the lower paddles, which are actually spring-loaded levers, and you can see they have quite a bit of travel, so you can actually use them for a clutch or a handbrake or something where you actually need a little bit of dexterity. You have enough range of motion to really be precise with those levers. Built with short aluminum arms and carbon fiber paddles, they feel solid. Now ultimately having 6 paddles is really impressive because look at all those controls, but on the other hand, depending on the kind of car you drive, you might actually find them more than you need. I don't even have these upper paddles mapped to anything, but I think for those who are in those like Formula 1 cars, it might be really good for like DRS or some kind of electronic control, or something that I don't need necessarily, but it is really designed for those kind of cars specifically. Now let's talk about the buttons. The buttons are backlit like we're getting more and more accustomed to. You can change them to one of 8 different colors or off in the Conspit software, and you can adjust the temperature or the volume or the brightness of them as well. These buttons do have a unique feature. When pressed, the lights turn off, acting as visual confirmation of input. Initially, this threw me off and I thought something was wrong, but I quickly grew to love it as a third way to verify the button press. You have the audio, the tactile, and now the visual verification. In addition to selecting a color for the static buttons, we can also map indicators or flags to the buttons themselves. This can be any color in solid or flashing, another added bonus of the 290 GP. But what really shines are those buttons that are angled to you. It's only 6 of the buttons, but they are so easy to press. I mean, I've always had the best of luck with the top 2 buttons, sure, but when you start getting to those interior buttons, it can be a little bit harder to get them. With these, it seems to be exactly the angle that my thumb wants to strike the button, and it makes it as easy as any other button on the wheel. I mean, I don't even have to pivot my hand. I just lift my thumb, shift it over, and press. Magnificent. Beyond the buttons, we also get those 4 silver aluminum rotaries with gear-like aesthetics. They are all medium resistance with very clear detents between clicks. The upper 2, or the horizontal rotaries, they sit perfectly within thumb reach and they feel natural to use on the fly, no matter, even in the middle of a corner, you can operate those buttons. They're so perfectly placed. Beyond that are the 2 mini joysticks with purple anodized knobs, featuring 7-way functionality, which work great for menus and cameras or things you might do while sitting on pit lane, but they will be a little bit tricky to use while driving at speed. I do appreciate the slightly larger knobs than we see on most mini joysticks. The 3 encoder knobs on the bottom of the wheel, much like the other encoders, have a medium tension. They're not too hard and they're not too soft, and there is a very clear detent between clicks. The left and the right encoders work as true positional encoders, meaning 1 button per click, 46, 47, 48, whatever, you get what I mean, versus a left and right click only. The middle encoder, on the other hand, actually controls the dash screen and will switch between the selected dashes that you have in the Conspit software. And that does take us to this dash, this 4.3-inch 800 by 480 LCD screen, which is very, very bright, and you can adjust that brightness in the software. And the dashes are actually pretty unique and actually pretty cool. They have a good amount of information, the kind of information you need while driving. However, something that I'm seeing a lot of, unfortunately, in some of these newer wheels is the software is only acknowledging metric units. For those Americans, those who count in imperial units, it's going to be a little bit difficult to convert, and it's something I really hope that Conspit fixes in the near future. With that said, it is a great looking dash. Now, I have heard that you can use SimHub with this dash, but I think it only happens on a wired connection. So using this wireless, I haven't tried it yet, but it's something I'm going to get to in another video, and I'll find out one way or another what it takes to get a SimHub dash so that I can have my own or even design my own dashes, and maybe an editor from Conspit would be something really nice in the future. Now, surrounding the dash, we have our top rev lights at the top. It's a 12 LED fully customizable rev strip. So you can go into the software, change any of the stages of the LEDs, and you can adjust the brightness as well. To the left and right of the display, you'll see 3 LEDs going up and down on both sides. These are for flags or indicators and can also be completely tailored within the software. Select which flags you want to be notified of, and you can change the colors of those warnings as desired, as well as the brightness, just like everything else on the wheel. And as I just mentioned, I am using their wireless quick release, no wraparound cable, the CDP quick release. This is a really cool quick release. It's all aluminum. It's got these little fingers that interlock, which makes it really, really on there well, as well as any quick release I've ever seen. The only downside is I have found it to be a little bit sticky. So it takes a little extra ump sometimes to get it off, and going on is a little bit easier, and it seems to be even getting better over time, but it is a little stickier than some quick releases that we've used in the past. Despite that, you've got that wireless connection, a unique look, and a rock solid mount. I gotta tell you, I do love it in concept, but I'd like to see it refined for a smoother option. The only other downside is it ends up being very proprietary. You're not going to find that quick release on any other direct drive wheels at this time. Well, we pretty much covered every detail of the Conspit 290 GP, and at this point I can tell you this has jumped up to one of my all-time favorite steering wheels that I've ever tested. It's lightweight, it's super strong, it's built with high-end parts, it's got some great features, and the ergonomics are really nice. So for me, in my style of driving, I usually drive in gloves, and the comfort of this wheel with the grips ends up being really nice. And those ergonomics make it a little bit easier to find your buttons and operate them while using it in gloves, and the shielded buttons prevent any accidental pressure, which is really nice. The size and grip shape make it incredibly comfortable, and the functionality is over the top. With a ridiculous number of inputs, buttons, rotaries, and paddles, you have total control at your fingertips, literally. The fully adjustable lighting for revs, flags, and buttons isn't just for show. It helps memory and muscle reflex, allowing me to either stick to a theme or use those colors strategically for quicker recognition and memory. And then finally, the build quality and the overall aesthetics, which tie everything together, and in the end, you know what? It looks as good as it feels. Well, I might have already let the cat out of the bag with my enthusiasm while driving with this steering wheel, but let's go ahead and make sure it's very clear to everyone out there and break things down with the good, the not so good, and the bottom line, starting with the good and it being, it's a great looking steering wheel. Ergonomic design. Very stiff and strong. Rocker paddle shifters. Wireless to Aries base. High quality parts and finish. Tons of mappable controls. Customizable lighting. USB wired connection, use on any base. SimHub compatible. And now on to the not so good, starting off with that sticky quick release. Metric dashes only. Semi-hard grips. Clutch paddles linked only or combined. Bite point and tension. And now on to the bottom line. The Conspit 290 GP is a really good wheel option for anyone looking for a formula style wheel, wired connection that'll work on just about any direct drive base out there in the world. And then on top of that, if you are in the Conspit ecosystem or you're looking for the Conspit ecosystem, you gain that wireless connectivity where it gains full wireless functionality. Now, some might argue that $710 is a little expensive, and in fact, we can round it up to $800 with the quick release, and you could definitely make the argument that is a lot of money. However, when you compare this to other wheels that have these type of features, that are made of these type of quality parts, this is actually on the low side of that scale, so it's actually a pretty reasonable price for what you get. Now, one big gripe for me is the metric dashes, and this is something that I've seen from other companies coming out of Europe or China as well, kind of ignoring the North American market and not giving us the proper numbers that we like, and that is kind of a big deal. So it's something I'm going to be talking to Conspit about, and hopefully they'll make solutions or make some imperial number dashes soon enough for us to choose from. And then on top of it, it'd be great to be able to customize our own dashes like you're starting to see. Now, another thing I want to mention, and this is going to be something that some people are going to say, I need it. Some people are going to say, I love it. Some people are going to be like, that's too much and it's more than I really need. And that's talking about the 6 paddle shifters. And I think it really comes down to what type of driving that you're doing. This is a lot of paddle shifters. So if you're not used to it, you are going to accidentally press paddles that you didn't intend on pressing. And at the same time, once you get used to it, it's just that much more added functionality, and those doing Formula One driving are going to love those added controls. They're going to be able to love to do the launch control and all that fun stuff. But some of us in slower cars are going to think it's a little bit more than I need. That's really going to be a personal decision. Now, there's no denying the added functionality of the push-pull action. Also, it takes a little getting used to, but in the end, it's something that when you're doing hand-over-hand steering real quick, it really comes back and you really find, wow, it's nice to be able to just push forward because I couldn't even reach my fingers to do the pulling action. So that is a nice added bonus for a lot of people, and it's definitely a much more modern design. So the final verdict, despite those flaws, the Conspit 290 GP has quickly jumped up my list to one of my favorite wheels out there, and there are some major reasons why. The total functionality, its great looks, and one of the best ergonomic designs I've ever used. I mean, this is a serious wheel for serious sim racers, especially if you're into formula style cars. So I hope you've enjoyed our review of the Conspit 290 GP steering wheel. Like I said, we'll be getting to the Aries Platinum base and the CPP Evolution pedals very soon, as well as the Sim Hub compatibility for this steering wheel. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Be sure to subscribe to the channel so you can find out when our next video comes out. This is the Simpit. I'm Sean Cole, and I'll see you on the track.